I do feel like 2026 is the year I want to take things a little bit more slowly. Another goal that's rather intimidating for me is to read more classics. I have been struggling a little bit to feel inspired when it comes to creating videos for my YouTube channel. Look how much fun he's having. Hey friends, I hope you're doing really well and welcome back to another video. Since we're still in January, I thought it'd be fun to film my 2026 reading goals, and I have quite a few goals jotted down in my diary over there, so I thought it'd be fun to share it with you guys just because I love hearing what other people's goals are for the new year. I've got some honey tea with me because I've run out of all my tea bags and I wasn't feeling loose tea leaves today for some reason, so I thought I would just squeeze in a bit of honey and some hot water. But let me know what tea you're drinking or beverage you're drinking in the comments below, and let's get into the video. Okay, so to kick off my reading goals for the year, the number of books that I would love to reach this year is 75 books. Usually I will aim to try and reach as close to 100 as possible, but this year I'm going to try and read more intentionally and more slowly, which is my reading goal number 2. So yeah, my second goal is to read books more slowly and to let thoughts marinate. I did share a little bit about this on my recent Instagram post, but I feel like I've really rushed through a lot of books last year, not necessarily in a bad way, it's just that I was really pumped to like keep moving and keep reading the next good book on my TBR. I do feel like 2026 is the year I want to take things a little bit more slowly and intentionally. Moving on, another goal is to reread books. I think this was a goal for last year as well, but I didn't really do a very good job with it. I always feel a little bit guilty for some reason. I think it's because there's usually a stack of books waiting for me to get to that I've bought, and so I feel I need to get to the unread books first before I dive into one that I already know and love. But this year I really want to try and change that and go and revisit some old favorites of mine, as well as some books that maybe weren't favorites but I want to give another shot. So the goal is to reread one book every month. Another goal of mine is to read more translated fiction, especially from authors who aren't East Asian. I think last year I did a pretty good job of reading from East Asian authors. I feel like we've been really blessed in the last couple of years in that lots of Korean and Japanese books have been translated into English, and obviously because I'm British Korean, that holds a very special place in my heart, and it's a goal that I always want to prioritize. However, I'm very much aware that there are so many other books out there written by authors from all over the world that I have never read from before. So if you guys have any suggestions in the comments below, please let me know. I'd love to hear your recommendations. Okay, the next goal is one that's very intimidating for me. It's to read big books. Like many people, I am very terrified when it comes to starting big books. I actually don't have a problem with buying big books, it's reading them that's where my issue is. This is also one of the reasons why I'm not too fussed about reaching, say, 100 books or 90 or 80 books this year. I want to slow down and give myself the space and the time without feeling guilty of picking up a very chunky big book. And another goal that's rather intimidating for me is to read more classics. I feel like last year I really enjoyed reading modern classics, so whilst I want to continue doing that, I want to go back further in date and read some of the big classics that I've always been a bit too scared to read. For instance, just over there in my TBR collection, I can see some Emily Bronte novels. I can see, what else is there? I can see some Russian classics, even one or two Jane Austen novels that I haven't managed to get to yet. So maybe one a month is kind of doable for me, although I'm also a bit of a mood reader, so yeah, you never know. But yeah, definitely trying to read more classics this year. And then another one is to keep my TBR under 40 books and to only buy books once I'm under 40 books on my TBR. I think currently I have 42 physical books to read in my TBR collection, which isn't too far off my goal, but I definitely want to whittle it down a little further. That way I still have a selection of books to pick from, but it wouldn't be out of control. And my final reading goal is to keep recording the day that I buy books and where I bought the book from, and also the day I finished reading it. So for example, with this book here, I just recently finished The Memory Police. I've written down that I bought it on December 19th of last year from Waterstones Kingston, and I finally finished it on 18th of January. I feel like that's quite a fun way to keep a track of books, and it's kind of interesting for me to see how long it took for me to actually read the book that I bought. I guess it keeps me accountable, but it's also a great memento just having that recorded here. But those are some of my reading goals for the new year, and I feel like I've made a good start on some of them. I'm really excited for this to bear some good fruit at the end of 2026, but my tea has gone cold, so I feel like that's a sign for me to stop talking, at least in this portion of the video. It's currently Friday and I have a couple things to catch up on in terms of work. Tomorrow will be the January book club with my friends, and so I'll be traveling into London for that, and the book for that was The Memory Police, so it'll be fun discussing this with everybody. I actually need to create the book club quiz for that, so I'll be doing that next. And I'm also really excited to visit this new Korean matcha house in London. It's called Tokia, it's in Covent Garden, and yeah, I can't wait to try out some of their matcha. But let's get back into the more vlog side of the video. to share a couple of books that I've been reading so far this January, and January so far has been a really great reading month for me, and this is a trend that I'm noticing every year. For some apparent reason, January tends to be a very good reading year for me, at least it has been in the last couple of years, and I've discovered some all-time favorites in January. But the very first book I kicked off the year with that I already know is going to be on my favorites of 2026 is called The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. But the professor in this story is an elderly gentleman who was a genius maths professor a while ago, except he got into a very bad car accident, meaning that he has no access to short-term memory anymore. He's on his 9th or 10th housekeeper, and at the start of the story you follow the new housekeeper as you see their relationship developing and how she figures out different ways to keep making memories with him. This is a very precious story, and one I think that is going to be very dear to me now. It's definitely one of my new favorites, and I gave it 5 stars. But the second book that I read in January that I was also obsessing over was Blood Over Bright Haven by ML Wang. As soon as I found out that this was a dark academia inspired novel, I knew that it was one that I was eventually going to get to. I'm so glad that I kicked off the year with this one. In this fantasy world, it's very difficult and virtually impossible for women to become high mages. So Siona makes history when she's the first woman ever to be accepted into the university as a high mage. However, lots of people remain unhappy with this news, and especially some of her colleagues, they give her a very tough time. So when she gets put on this very crucial research job, her colleagues sabotage her by not providing her with a lab assistant and instead pairing her with a janitor. But Tomil isn't your ordinary janitor, he was once a nomadic hunter, and the reason why he had to evacuate his homeland is because something called the Blight was taking over the land. Siona was such a fascinating character to read from because not only was she incredibly intelligent, but she definitely possessed flaws and prejudices of her own when it came to Tomil's people, and I feel like that showed a very complicated, multifaceted main character, and it wasn't a one-dimensional thing where, oh, it's just a smart person. I love the world building in this and the legends that are constantly alluded to, and seeing how this nation came to be the way that it was. It was crafted in such a clever way, and I had a really great time unraveling things from the story. I love the romance in it. The romance is definitely like a subplot to the fantasy element in this, and also takes a step back from the academia element. This one I gave 4.5 stars, or 4.75 I think, but one for sure that I won't be forgetting about anytime soon. The next book that I read and fell in love with properly was The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, who also wrote The Housekeeper and the Professor. This book was actually on my radar before The Housekeeper ever was, so I was really glad to have read this in succession to The Housekeeper and the Professor. This one is a dystopian kind of sci-fi book that explores the concept of there being a memory police, and the memory police in this story have the authority to remove and destroy people's memories according to their whim. Of course, the propaganda they project is that it's good for the citizens to be rid of unnecessary and harmful memories, but you get to see how important memories are and how destructive controlling people in this kind of very intense way can be. I think it touches a lot on identity and what it means to possess your own memories and to be in control of them. It's written in a very leisurely and languid way, and it often feels like you're in the middle of a dream. But as the story progresses and the friction between the memory police and the citizens grow more and more tense, there's a very haunting tension that kind of builds throughout the story, and it made me want to keep on reading to find out what happens. It definitely starts off quite slowly. It took me a little bit to get into it to sort of figure out my bearings for this one because it's meant to be told in a very slow, progressive way. But again, I really appreciated the way that Yoko Ogawa explored the themes of identity and memory, which seems to be a reoccurring topic in her novels. Those are the 3 books that I finished so far, and one that I'm in the middle of right now is The Golden Enquiries by Naomi Novik, which is book 3 to the Scholarmance series. I was really excited to dive into this one because it's been on my TBR or on my radar for ages now, ever since I read A Deadly Education. However, I'm about 45% of the way through, I would say, and I'm not loving this one, sadly, which really breaks my heart because I adored books 1 and 2. To be more specific, I don't love the direction that the author is taking in terms of the romance in this. I won't say any more than that because I don't want to spoil anything again, but this one, yeah, is a little bit it's just not something I wanted. And then the final book that I'm also in the middle of reading, I'm listening to it as an audiobook, is The Geographer's Map to Romance by India Holton. I really loved the Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, which is book 1 in the series, although these two are standalone novels, so you can read them independently. But I would recommend reading book 1 just because there are a few Easter eggs. I feel like the audiobook narrator is doing such a great job in this book in particular because the book is taking place in Wales and the narrator is doing such an incredible job with the Welsh accent. It's definitely making it more of an immersive read for me. Just like book 1, book 2 follows 2 rivals, except they are geography professors at Oxford. The twist in this novel is that Elodie and what's his name, Gabriel, the 2 professors, they are already married. Their marriage was a marriage of convenience. However, things turned very bitter very quickly at the start of their marriage, and so they haven't spoken to each other in over a year. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of tension brewing, which I'm really enjoying. I will note that for both this one and the previous book, there is a lot more steam and spice than I really prefer when it comes to my books with romances in them. India Holton writes though in a very sort of cheeky, chubby way, so the romance is a little bit on the steamy side. It's just presented in a more entertaining fashion. So yeah, definitely I would prefer it if it was less spicy, as you guys know. But the only reason why I'm enjoying it this much is because I love the tension, I love the pacing of the story. It's quite fast paced and there's a lot of action involved. It's just a very fun book to read. So I'm in the middle of editing the video and I realised that I don't really have an outro for this video, so I thought I'd film a short snippet now. Looking back, I think there were just so many different clips that I filmed throughout January and the start of February, so it's a little bit all over the place and I'm not really sure how it's going to all come together, and I'm really sorry for the lack of videos and the lack of content lately. I have been struggling a little bit to feel inspired when it comes to creating videos for my YouTube channel, but instead I've been really active over on Instagram. It's been a good creative little outlet that's slightly different from YouTube, so if you don't follow me over there, it's a really good way to sort of keep up with what I'm doing because I'm more active there right now. But that being said, I have been really inspired, thankfully, lately to start filming more and to get more videos out for you guys, and I think what's helping me is that I've been trying to experiment with slightly different editing styles. So you might have noticed throughout this video that it's filmed slightly differently, or at least edited differently with different kinds of music. I think I was just lacking a bit of creativity after sort of doing the same things for a little while. So yeah, I'm not too sure how you guys will have found it, but I really enjoyed putting it together. It's definitely making me feel much more inspired to keep creating more videos. I'm actually going to be visiting Malaga in Spain in a few days and I'm really excited. It's going to be a girls' trip to celebrate my friend Subin's 26th birthday, so I'll definitely be taking you guys along with me there, and I'm really excited to get a bit of sunshine because it's been a very wet and cold January and February so far in the UK. But I hope you guys really enjoyed the video and thank you for being so patient with me as I'm working to get these videos out. Sending you all lots of love. Bye friends.